Hello everybody and welcome to my showcase of the Skybox Volume 7. This is a video purely intended to show you what you can find in the Skybox Volume 7. It's a showcase. I'm going to show you what you have available in Unreal Engine and then also in Blender. This Skybox Volume can be used in any particular, any software that uses HDRIs or that is able to use equirectangular surfaces or textures. So yeah, I think you can obviously use them in Blender, you can use them in Unreal Engine. There's an alpha map and there's a texture map for all of them. So let's not delay this, let's hop straight right in and let me show you what you can get. So what I've got here is I've got Unreal Engine open, and this is one of the skyboxes right here opened, as you can see. Let me just pull that back a bit more. So on camera 1, I'm just going to go to this preset. Let's have a look. So this is what this sort of skybox looks like, and this skybox is added to a I've also got this atmosphere in there a bit randomly dropped. This skybox is it's encompassing the whole scene, and it's on a blueprint applied, and it's got the stars in the background which are on a different layer, and then there's the skybox itself. So if we select the star dome in here, we can actually play around with the brightness, for example, of the skybox. So we can make the nebula a lot more brighter, or we can darken it up. We can also use a sun mask threshold. So the sun disk is over there. If we rotate this, you will see that it can be hidden by the skybox, although it's a bit visible where the sun is when you do hide it. But as you can at least sort of hide this disk that's creating luminosity, and that's an interesting sort of thing. Obviously, it's using an alpha to be able to drive this. So the material is very smart. There's a lot of options in here for saturation, brightness. You can also add a flow map if you want to start distorting it and moving it around. You can control how visible the stars are. So, for example, we could have the big stars really, be pumped through the scene, or we could reduce that, or we can increase the smaller stars in the background to be more visible. So that's also interesting. And you can load up the material up here. You can also load up a second skybox in the same scene. So let's actually just do that. So I'm going to drop another skybox from my textures in here. So I've got them in here. I'm just going to drop maybe skybox number, I think this one is number 3. So I don't know, let's drop number 6. Hopefully those all combine nicely. That's Skybox number 6, and you can see that it's sort of blending in with Skybox number 3 in there. And Skybox number 6, the second Skybox can actually be rotated via the blueprint. So you can go in here and just, cube map rotation, and that sort of rotates the other Skybox. These are all 16K, so they're very high quality, and they're all HDRI. So when you start playing around, we can play with individual brightnesses. So for example, you can push the brightness down on this one, on the first one, and then you also have a brightness for the extra cube map. So you could, make that glow more as you do. Now, if we cancel this and take both of these skyboxes out, we can now add a different one. So from here, this is skybox number 1, for example. And let me just increase that brightness so we can see it a bit better. This is how skybox number 1 looks like. Then you've got skybox number 2. Again, this is there's a lot of lines and a lot of elements going around. It's there's a lot of intricate sort of details weaved into this, and we can actually drop the alpha for that in here to be able to allow for the stars to shine through. And obviously we can decrease the intensity of that alpha. So, we could go to like a we could do like a 0. So now the alpha isn't blocking any of the stars shining through. Or we can push this to a 1, which is blocking some of the stars. So you can get this sort of dispersion in there, which I think is really neat. We can then add, I don't know, let's say nebula number 3 we already saw. Then there's nebula number 4. And this is what this looks like. And then we have nebula number 5. Okay, nebula number 5 has a lot more construction about. These are generally made so that you can put them together with each other, so you get more intricate shapes. This is nebula number 6, which works well with nebula number 5. Then you got nebula number 7, which again, big shapes for you to use. You can just play around with the brightness to be able to see more of the elements of the nebula. And then you've got nebula number 8. And this is more of a fiery type of nebula. It's got a lot of dust and clouds into it as well. So that's kind of all the nebulas of this. They all, as I said, they all come with an alpha. You've got stars there, and you've got like a flow map and just an extra sort of nebula in. But there's also a black hole within the project, which we can activate and see, and the black hole is affecting obviously the skybox. And then there is let's activate the dome. Dome itself is very controllable. This is based on a camera vector, so wherever you are within this dome, you will forever be able to see these. It's as if you'll never reach the edge of this, which is quite cool. As I said, very high quality HDR textures, very good. And all of these work in Blender as well, because that's where they were created. So let me just hop on over to Blender and I'll show you how they sort of function in there as well. So these skyboxes are the effect of a very large process of creating a lot of noise and different volumes within Blender. There's a lot of stuff that gets done to be able to create these, and there's a lot of trial and error until we get something that actually works and looks good. There's a lot to consider and a lot of render time for these, and so basically this is this is a setup that I've got in which I'm sort of working on generating these, and again, it's a lot of trial and error and a lot of things that can go wrong. But this is obviously part of an ongoing effort of creating more intricate skyboxes. But let me show you the ones that I've just showed in Unreal Engine. Let's have a look at them in Blender and how they function as well. So here we are in Blender, and this is basically one of the skyboxes that's loaded. We have a material for the equirectangular, so it's for a world shader, and this allows us to control, you can open this to change the textures, but this allows us to control the mask of the stars behind the nebula in there. So if we decrease this, we'll be able to trim the nebula away and be able to see more stars. The stars are generated through a noise texture, so you can actually increase this to make the stars disappear entirely if that's something that you want to do. Obviously we can increase the brightness of this as well if we want, although I would recommend you doing very small increments on this because it can have quite an impact, the brightness of this, because these are HDRIs, so they're very prone to overexposure if you're not careful. Then you can obviously work on the contrast and stuff, but also very interestingly, you could, for example, work on the scale of this and easily be able to create something that looks like a wormhole. So like you can go through. So there's a lot of things that you can do to play around with the design of this. The stars themselves can be added. You can add more or less if you want to, and changing the texture on to another skybox is quite easy. So you just click this, open the material in here, and you've got two textures, which is the alpha and the actual texture. So once you obviously click the open button, this allows you to bring in another texture. So that was number 2. So let's, I don't know, try number 3. So we double click that. Obviously, this is going to take, I don't know, depending on your computer, this could take a few seconds before it opens, or it could take a bit longer. These are 16K textures, so remember that is definitely a factor. So now we have this texture on, and you'll notice that it is a bit exposed, overexposed, so you'll probably want to play with that. One of the things that you need to do is also bring its alpha in, so you can actually get a proper display of the actual texture. So that was number 3, so we can bring the number 3 alpha. I would definitely play with the colors in here. So for example, if you want to have like a view transform, to filmic or something else, it really depends on how, what you're going for, what kind of look you're going for. But it's very important that you then, come out of this material in here and you play around with things like contrast. So for example, putting the contrast to 0 might make more sense for this particular skybox. It's really from a case-by-case scenario, and I would definitely add a camera in here to be able to pull back the image a bit further, so you have another, a better FOV. But that's how the Blender sort of setup works. It's pretty straightforward. You just drop it in or append the material, and you're able to go and just use these skyboxes straight away. So yeah, I hope that's useful, and it's something that you're able to then use yourself and be able to create very intricate sort of designs and effects. I'm really happy with what came out of this. Sorry. So we'll see how this develops in the future. Stay tuned, because I will be creating more, and I am looking at publishing the generator of nebulas at some point when I think it's ready for public use. But in the meantime, check my other projects. I do have other nebula generators for Eevee, and I'm working on one for cycles now. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this, and I'll see you in the next video, hopefully a tutorial. Thank you.